Growing up is painful. There's a moment in life where everything changes, suddenly and violently. A moment where you realise that growing up isn't about becoming smarter or more popular. There's something deeply unsettling about Whiplash. On the surface, it's a film about obsession and ambition, or about toxic mentorship. But to me, there's something even deeper going on here. Whiplash might be one of the darkest coming-of-age films ever, and the name itself, Whiplash, isn't just a title, it's not just the name of a song by Hank Levy or a reference to the car crash. I see it as a metaphor for adolescence. For that unstable, painful transition between who we are and who we are becoming. It's the backlash from trying to be ourselves, the bullying, the doubts, the depression, the anxiety, the frustration and rage, as well as the sudden shifts in identity. It's the emotional impact of being pulled forward and snapped back again and again because growing up doesn't feel like progress. It feels like, well, whiplash. And the film has a brutally honest answer to what coming of age actually means. That adulthood is not something you are given, but something you take, forcefully. It's something you survive into, and this movie proposes a very specific way to survive. This is a little bit different to my usual sitcom essays, but today I'm going to explore one of my favourite movies, Whiplash. Andrew Neiman is a character defined by a tension between control and internal uncertainty. He is disciplined and focused, and he is willing to endure discomfort in pursuit of excellence. But none of that comes from a stable sense of identity. And what's more, underneath his ambition is something extremely fragile, which is a need for certainty and structure. He wants to be a great musician, but it's more than that. He wants what the achievement represents, which is true clarity and validation, a fixed answer to the question of who he is, identity. And this is what makes him feel so relatable. He is a version of someone who has not yet learned to exist without external measurement, someone who still understands themselves through performance, comparison, and achievement. He is competitive, yes, but more than that, he is uncertain, and that uncertainty becomes the engine of everything he does. Andrew Neiman is not introduced as a fully formed person. He is 19 years old, which is incidentally the age adolescence officially ends according to the World Health Organization. He exists in that strange in-between space, no longer a teenager, but not yet grounded in who he is supposed to become. And what defines him most at the beginning of the film is not identity, but potential. He is a shape still being formed, a version of someone who hasn't decided exactly what he is yet. And rather than introspecting to find an answer to the question of identity, he places his identity in something external. In this case, the drums. The drums are Andrew's self, built through repetition, discipline, and control. Each practice session becomes self-construction. Each beat is another part of him being shaped into something sharper, faster, and more precise. In adolescence, many of us do something similar. We hide our identity inside something else, whether it's a sport or a friendship group or even an idol or a certain fashion trend. Anything that gives structure when we don't yet know who we are. Andrew hides inside music, and slowly the drums stop being something he does and they become something he is. There's something strange about Andrew's sense of control, because the more disciplined he becomes, the less control he actually has. His schedule is rigid and his practice is relentless. His movements are precise, but emotionally, he is completely unstable. And that's something young adulthood often gets wrong. We think control comes from tightening our grip, from trying harder, from eliminating weakness. But sometimes, the tighter you hold something, the more it controls you. Andrew doesn't control the drums control him, and that's the tragedy of his character. What looks like discipline is actually dependence. Whiplash is intense, and it's not just because of the story, it's the way the film is made. The colour palette is surprisingly dark. Most of the film exists in deep browns, blacks, and muted golds, which I absolutely love, and I can't think of another movie that uses this colour combination so well. And the practice room feels almost suffocating. There's very little natural light. It's artificial, dim, controlled, and it creates this constant sense of pressure, like the world is closing in around Andrew. Even the stage light feels isolating. When Andrew performs, he's trapped inside the light, surrounded by darkness, with only a harsh spotlight separating him from the void. It turns performance into exposure, like he's being examined rather than celebrated. And then there's the camera. It doesn't sit still, it moves in close, uncomfortably close, focusing on hands, sticks, cymbals, the physical details of playing, the strain and torturous repetition. It causes you to feel the effort behind the music, and the editing follows that same rhythm. Quick cuts during performance, but uncomfortable, lingering shots during moments of doubt. It mirrors Andrew's state of mind. When he's focused, everything accelerates, and when he's uncertain, time stretches. And then there's the sound design, because in this film, sound is everything. The drums are loud and aggressive, they are almost overwhelming at times, but the silence is just as powerful. The rests, the pauses between notes, the moments where everything stops, where Andrew is left alone with himself, those are often the most uncomfortable parts of the film. And all of these choices work together to create something very specific. This doesn't feel like a world you can relax in. It feels like a world you have to survive, which is why the style of the film matters so much, because it doesn't just tell you that growing up is intense, it makes you experience it all over again. The pressure, isolation, the constant feeling of being watched. It's all built into the way the film looks and sounds, and that's what makes Whiplash so effective as a coming-of-age story. The orchestra in Whiplash is a system, a microculture within which everyone is replaceable. Perfection is expected and failure is immediate removal, and in many ways it represents society, especially the kind of society we first become aware of in adolescence, when we start to feel watched, judged and measured against others for the first time. This is the stage of life where embarrassment becomes intense. In fact, there are multiple scientific papers that suggest that teenagers process social embarrassment differently on a neurological level, relying more on the medial prefrontal cortex, which is a region of the brain associated with more social emotions, which would explain the intense self-consciousness of adolescence, especially in awkward moments, in moments where we slip up, make mistakes, and get our timing wrong, when our mistakes are called out in front of the entire class. In these moments, it's like everyone has seen something about you that you were trying to hide. And the orchestra in Whiplash captures that perfectly. One wrong note doesn't just disrupt the music, it singles you out. It turns you from part of the group into the thing that failed, and that is exactly what adolescence feels like. A world where your value is constantly measured against others, where you are always aware that someone else could take your place and where success is always conditional. You are only ever one mistake away from being laughed at or ostracized. There is no security in the orchestra, and there's no space for being yourself. Only performance. And worse than that, there is no room for error without consequence, because as a teenager, embarrassment feels permanent. A stupid question asked in class, a moment of awkwardness with your secret crush. These moments linger. They reshape how you think others see you. And the orchestra mirrors that feeling almost perfectly. Every musician is hyper-visible, every mistake is amplified, every failure is public, and there is no hiding inside it. So the first lesson of growing up in this world becomes brutal but simple. You are not guaranteed a place, you have to earn it, again and again, every single moment you exist within it. One of the most uncomfortable things about Whiplash is how explicitly physical it is. The blood, the blisters, the intimate detail of the sweat. Andrew's body becomes a battleground, and that's certainly no coincidence, because adolescence is one of the first times we become hyper-aware of our bodies, how we look, how we're perceived, how we perform physically in the world. And in Whiplash, rather than being something to live in or look after, the body becomes something to sacrifice, something to push past, no longer an asset or even a means to complete your goals. It just becomes a barrier. The body becomes an object to destroy in pursuit of becoming someone else. Fletcher doesn't just train musicians, he literally reshapes people by teaching them to ignore their own limits and break their bodies until they bleed from the fingertips and sweat from every pore, shedding the self. Speaking of Fletcher, he represents a belief, and it's a dangerous one. The idea that suffering produces greatness, that pain is necessary, and that cruelty can be justified if the result is exceptional. The ends justify the means. He tells Andrew that comfort is the enemy. He tells him that encouragement is weakness and that greatness only comes through breaking someone down. And it's easy for Neiman to believe him, because adolescence often confuses intensity with meaning. But as it happens, Fletcher is not the answer, at least not the full answer. Although he offers certainty in a moment where Andrew has none, it is a false certainty. Now contrast that with Andrew's father. His father doesn't demand greatness or perfection. He is proud of Andrew simply for trying, for participating in life without needing to dominate it. And that is the real divide in the film, between external validation that destroys you and internal acceptance that lets you grow. But Andrew chooses Fletcher because adolescence often chooses Fletcher. It chooses intensity over peace, approval over balance, external judgment over internal judgment. The reason Fletcher is so effective is because he isn't entirely wrong. Greatness does require require sacrifice, as well as discomfort. It does require pushing beyond what feels natural. The problem is not that Fletcher lies, it's that he takes a partial truth and stretches it to a destructive extreme. And young adults are particularly vulnerable to that kind of thinking, because when you don't yet know who you are, it's hard to tell the difference between an extreme idea and clarity. Fletcher always asks for more, for constantly bettering yourself, whereas Andrew's dad represents already being enough. What we need is a balance of both. Healthy adulthood is realizing you're already enough, but also wanting to be more skilled at things, mentally and physically healthier, or just more fulfilled in life. It's a kind of paradox, a contradiction, as are so many things about being an adult. And eventually, by the end of the movie, Neiman is starting to learn that truth. Andrew's brief relationship, Nicole, his love interest in the movie, represents something we tend to forget. It represents what gets left behind in the process of growing up, and what we fail to appreciate until it is only too late. When I look back at my own youth, I often find myself thinking about people I wished I'd spent more time with, whether it's friends or family, spending more time playing, pursuing hobbies, or just being outside. The things I didn't appreciate at the time, and that are now gone. What I would give to ride my push bike down the steep hill with my friends one last time. But we've all grown up now, and I never appreciated it at the time because I was too worried about the obsessions of self-image, of getting the grades I needed, or becoming the person I was meant to be. I was so focused on adulthood that I never fully appreciated childhood. And adolescence is painful, but there is still so much beauty there. Because adolescence is also the first time for so many things. It's a stage of excitement and self-discovery, and discovery of the world at large. It's the stage where everything matters too much and not enough at the same time, when ordinary days feel like they carry emotional weight that you don't fully understand yet. There is a kind of intensity in that which you don't really get back later in life. Even the moments of embarrassment have a strange value to them. At the time it feels unbearable, like everyone is watching, like every mistake defines you. But in hindsight it's often just proof that you were present, that you were living. It's not just that those moments are gone, it's that they were the only time they could ever exist in that exact form, and you only realise that once you've already moved past them. So if the orchestra is society, and Whiplash is the pain of adolescence, Nicole is the beauty of adolescence, that which goes underappreciated until it is too late, the things we try to get back only when they are gone. As I said before, there's an interesting contrast in the film between noise and silence. The drumming is loud and chaotic, it's overwhelming. But the most revealing moments are often quiet. The dinner table, the conversations with his father. We see Andrew, the real Andrew, most clearly in the moments where nothing is being performed. And he struggles in those moments because without noise, there's nothing to hide behind. No rhythm and no structure, just himself, the most uncomfortable thing of all. And then there's the car crash, the climax of the movie. It's also simultaneously the loudest and quietest part of the movie, and the most literal moment of whiplash in the story. It's sudden and violent. It's disorienting. 1 second Andrew is on his way to perform, the next everything collapses. And what's disturbing is not the crash itself, it's what Andrew does afterwards. He doesn't stop. He drags himself from the wreckage, bleeding, barely conscious, and still tries to play. Because at this point, success is no longer a goal. It's survival. It's the only option. And this is where the metaphor becomes uncomfortable. Because coming of age can feel like this, the rebirth, continuing forward even when something inside you has already broken. Like performing through pain, because stopping feels worse. The final scene is often viewed as victory, but I think it's a bit more complicated than that. Andrew is succeeding, yes, he is finally winning the game, but he is winning it by ignoring the rules, by taking control of it. For the first time he is not reacting to Fletcher, but rather leading the performance. He becomes his own conductor. He decides when to come in, he sets the structure, he continues playing despite being sent off stage. And in this moment, something changes. For one thing, Fletcher finally respects him, but the irony is Andrew no longer needs to interpret himself through Fletcher's approval. This is the moment. This is coming of age. It's the moment of resistance, of self-control and self-acceptance. Respect from others is no longer the primary goal. Perhaps the new goal is mastery of the self, accepting that the world is always going to be dark and chaotic, and though there is little we can do to control it, we can at least control ourselves. It is the true adult who takes his life into his own hands at last. And that is what adulthood means in this film. Becoming not perfect, but moving forward despite imperfection, proudly, loudly, with a smile on your face. It's finally coming out the other end of self-doubt, pain, confusion, obsession, denial, betrayal. Whiplash teaches us that coming of age is bloody difficult, even dangerous. It's a dark version of growing up, but I relate to it, as many people do, because it's honest about the hardships of growth. So when I say Whiplash is a coming-of-age movie, I don't mean it in the traditional sense. For a lot of movies, it's about innocence to maturity, or instability to control. Whiplash shows a less straightforward version of growing up, because it suggests that becoming an adult is never gentle. It is not clean or kind or forgiving. It is filled with contradictions and never makes complete sense. Coming of age requires balance between the two philosophies of striving and self-acceptance. Coming of age requires dealing with pain and instability. The title Whiplash has many meanings. It's the title of a song, a reference to the car crash, a description of the mental state of the protagonist. But for me, it's also an unusually dark reflection of an entire movie genre. And there's one final question the film leaves us with, because the ending feels like a resolution, but it might actually be the beginning of something else. Has Andrew found himself, or has he simply become a more refined version of the same obsession? Is this growth, or just a different kind of control? And I like that uncertainty, because real coming of age doesn't end in a single moment. It's ongoing and messy. Throughout our lives we keep discovering new truths about what it means to be an adult, what it means to become ourselves. Thank you for watching. This was my first movie essay. I usually do character analyses from TV shows, and I will be returning to this next time. But today I just wanted to take a minor detour to look at a film that I admire. If you enjoy this style of deep reflective video essay and analysis, then consider subscribing. And if you like the video, a thumbs up will go a long way. In the comments I'd love to hear about your favourite coming of age movie, or just your favourite movie in general. I just wanted to thank all my subscribers and viewers, and a special thanks to the supporters of my channel listed on screen. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time.